Whether you're using an HSA or not, you probably know what it does. It's a tax beneficial account that is used to pay or reimburse certain medical expenses. But there's more to these accounts than most people know. So I'm going to share a few strategies that can help maximize the tax benefits, unlock some investment growth, and turn your HSA into a retirement healthcare powerhouse. Hi, I'm Jerry Masisak. Been a CPA for 30 plus years, and I'm here to talk about HSAs and everything that they can do for you. What are your investment options? Are there any hidden tax benefits? But first, let's start with eligibility. We've broken this video into sections below. So if you've already enrolled in an HSA, you can jump right into the later sections where I cover the tax benefits and how to properly use your HSA account. So who is eligible for an HSA? Number one, you need to be covered under a high deductible health plan. What is that? That's the type of plan that it's the most popular type of plan that most small businesses have, as well as self-insured individuals. So if you're not covered under a health plan at your job as an employee, and maybe you're self-employed, this would be the most popular plan out there. Number two, you cannot be enrolled in Medicare. So you have to be under 65 in order to be eligible. Medicare is the health insurance that you go on once you turn 65. You can't be claimed as a dependent on somebody else's tax return. So if you're on mom or dad's or an aunt or uncle's tax return as a dependent, you cannot be in an HSA. Lastly, you cannot have other health coverage that is precluded. That would be things like an HRA, which is a health reimbursement account, or a medical FSA, which is a flexible spending account. You just got to be super careful if that is something that you currently are part of. So high deductible health plan. What is it? What does it entail? And it really differentiates between a self and a family. So an individual and a family plan. It has a deductible component to it. And it also has a maximum out-of-pocket health expenditure, not including your premiums. Okay, so that's what a high deductible plan is. We've defined it. You know what it is? What are the benefits? Number one, and probably the one that most people know about, is there's a tax deduction available to it. Okay, that tax deduction differentiates if it's a self, a family, and if you're 55 and over, you get $1,000 catch-up. So there are different deductions available. And it's treated a lot like an IRA. So the deduction is an above-the-line deduction, and that's a traditional IRA, meaning it reduces your adjusted gross income. So that's one powerful benefit to the HSA, is the fact that you get a tax deduction for this. All right. Let's say that you're with an employer that actually has an HSA plan. Those contributions that are being made, whether you're doing them as a salary reduction or your employer is actually contributing to the HSA, they're going to reduce your wages. So your wages actually are going to be reduced. Again, treated the same way, it reduces your adjusted gross income, bottom line. So it's a tax benefit. An HSA is not a use it or lose it account, meaning the amounts in your account can stay in there beyond that tax year. If you're familiar with cafeteria plans and FSAs and stuff like, those are use it or lose it. That basically means if you don't use it within that year, it's gone. That's not how an HSA works. An HSA can be kept intact and can be added to year over year over year. Okay, so it's not use it or lose it. Distributions. If they're used for medical purposes, the eligible medical expenditures, they're tax-free. This is a lot like a Roth if you think about it. So when you take money out of a Roth IRA, you don't pay taxes on it. Very similar to an HSA. The caveat is it's got to be used for medical or eligible medical expenditures, which we're going to define a little bit later. What's an eligible medical expense? Also, the earnings and growth are potentially tax-free. I'll say potentially. It remains in the account as long as you're using it for, again, eligible medical expenses. A lot like a Roth, this is not taxable. So you get the contributions come out as a distribution and the earnings and growth tax-free. So much like a Roth. I almost call these super Roths. You get a deduction on the front side, and if it comes out for medical, you don't pay any taxes at all. And they can be invested also. So another opportunity or strategy. It doesn't have to just be in a bank account. It could be like a Roth, invested in a mutual fund or a stock. So you could have a strategy behind this with the growth. They're portable. What does that mean? That basically means it's yours. It comes and goes with you. That's a lot like how an IRA is, or a simple IRA. It's like a vested retirement account. And this is more like when you're part of if you're an employee and your employer has an HSA, it comes with you. So it's not like, hey, if I put money in here, I'm not going to have the opportunity to take this with me. It's yours. Another item that a lot of people aren't aware of is there is a one-time IRA to HSA roll-in. There are limitations you need to be aware of: age, the timing of it, things that you really need to be aware of so that you don't create a situation where there's a taxable event. But there is a one-time, you can only do it once, and it's going from an IRA to an HSA roll-in. Lastly, again, another powerful option with an HSA, and something that isn't it's in the tax code, but there's not many things that you could do this. You can actually make a deduction, but you can make this deduction after the end of the year. So most people, December 31st, 2023 kind of ends their opportunity for any kind of a tax savings at all. Well, HSA contributions, a lot like an IRA, they can be made up to tax filing day. Normally it's April 15th, but that can change at times. So be aware of that. So contributions after December 31st can be a tax deduction. You just have to designate it properly. Okay. So one important thing to know is what exactly are qualified medical expenses. So there are publications out there that, because it's an extensive list, but I'm going to list out some of the most popular ones for you. So medications, prescriptions, your out-of-pocket doctor costs, if you need a wheelchair, braces, dental cleanings, eyeglasses, contact lenses, eye exams, eye surgeries, x-rays, MRIs, hearing aids, and Medicare premiums. So you'll notice I did not say health insurance premiums. You cannot use your HSA to pay health insurance premium. But after you turn 65, you can use it to pay your Medicare premiums. All right. So that's there's an exhaustive list of expenses. It's quite large, but those are some of the most common that I see. So now, most importantly, how do you use it? Right? I've got this HSA. How the heck am I going to use it? And normally I'll see three different ways of using your HSA. And most people fall into one of these three things. They either use it all now. Okay. Meaning, hey, I put money into my HSA. I get my deduction. I'm taking my money out to pay my eligible healthcare expenses or getting reimbursed for those. Fine. People that don't have any free cash flow, that's generally how they use it. And it's great because you're getting those benefits of tax deductions. You might have very limited growth, because something like this, if you're using it for that purpose, you probably don't want to have a whole lot of risk attached to it. So you're probably talking about having this in some sort of a bank account or something super stable, so that you make sure that what's going in is there for you when you need to take it out. Okay. So first person that I see is the person that's using it all now. I'll also see a person that's kind of a little bit of a combo. Okay. Who's the combo person? They're using it here, they're using it there. Maybe they're just using it for something big. Kid with braces, eyeglasses, something like that. Something that's a major expenditure that they don't necessarily have the cash flow to pay. And this is a very tax efficient way of getting money to pay a medical expense that ordinarily would not be deductible. It would just be cash out of your pocket, and that's the way it goes. Most people don't itemize, and the medical expense itemized deduction is a very difficult deduction to even garner any kind of tax benefit with anyways. This at least gives you an option on how to pay for something very tax efficiently. And again, somebody that kind of uses it for the large stuff, what I would say is the normal oil changes, maybe they don't go and just use it for a doctor visit or a copay or something like that. So that would be the second kind of person. Now, third person. And this is where you can make this a powerhouse investment strategy within your plan. This is somebody that has the wherewithal to fund out-of-pocket medical along the way without having to use their HSA. Okay. So, as the medical expenses are coming in, they're paying for them with some sort of cash that they have. And they allow this HSA to grow. Okay. So they put money in, they come up with an investment strategy, and they allow this to grow. The investment strategy can be mutual funds. It could be stocks. It could be, there's really almost anything under the sun as it relates to what you can invest in order to allow this to become a secondary investment vehicle. And as we talked about before, I'll almost call it like a super Roth, because you get a deduction for it in the front, and then you could take money out, including the growth. And if it's qualified medical expenses, it's tax free. So if you think about somebody that's retired, okay, done working, in order to maybe pay one of these bigger type medical expenses, they're going to have to create taxable income. Okay. Well, taking money out of an HSA to pay for, that's not taxable income. Okay. So what would normally be a taxable event becomes a non-taxable event. And as you retire, and there are statistics out there, the last one that I saw was from 2018, 12% of retirement spending went for medical purposes. So I can only imagine 2018, it's more than that now. Everything's gotten way more expensive. This gives you that super tool that allows you to use growth, use an investment strategy in order to pay medical expenses, and it's a tax-free deal. Now, people will then ask, well, okay, I'm going to do this. What happens when something happens to me? What happens when I pass? Well, here's how it works. If you're married, your HSA can go to your spouse, and it's treated as if it's your spouse's HSA at that point. So they could use that exactly how you were using it. Same tool, same super tool for medical expenses. If it goes to a non-spouse, and you want to make sure that you're putting a beneficiary on your HSA, so don't forget to do that. But if it goes to a non-spouse, it then becomes an IRA. So it loses a little bit of its luster in terms of, how it works, but you've had tax-free deferral and the opportunity to spend this on your medical expenses. And again, that's how you make this that powerhouse super tool in your toolbox when you retire. If you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments. Be happy to answer those. And in the meantime, I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.